from my perspective, the argument I continue to put forward is that only two things that may probably hinder you from developing is training and some resources in terms of finance. So we're here today to cover at least some of the grounds on one of those aspects, which is training. If you know how to do agriculture properly, then you'll be able to make it a sustainable venture. Why would we want to place emphasis in it? Field sanitation basically is keeping your farm clean and free from weeds. We do this in order to maintain good quality produce, and we want to get a good harvest. At the end of planting, maintaining your crop, the goal is that you will get high yields. You want to get plenty to reap, or harvest is the word that we use. If you have a good harvest, you have proper yield of high quality, then, and you have a secured market, you can sell that produce and make quite a bit from it. Field sanitation would also help in the prevention and spread of pests and diseases. And thirdly, any farm which practices good sanitation is a farm that's on its way to achieving good yields and high productivity. Therefore, our argument is field sanitation is the hallmark of sustainable agriculture. And I would have explained to you before what sustainable agriculture is. What do we intend to achieve at the end of this training? There are three objectives that we hope to achieve. Firstly, we hope to equip you with the requisite skills and knowledge as necessary in the practices of field sanitation. So you must know how to go about doing field sanitation, what it's all about, and what are the various things you can do to maintain good sanitation on your fields. The second objective is that you must be able to identify the varying limitations of basic farm and field sanitation and its impact. How would it impact the farm, and what would be the overall impact of good sanitation on your farm or a particular crop? And thirdly, we hope that you'll be able to demonstrate good cleaning and disinfection practices. So we'll be doing some demonstration also. We hope to visit a field, probably Nicole, because of proximity, might visit you, where we'll do some demonstration where we intend to show you some of the ways that you should properly clean and disinfect your farm tools and equipment. And later on, we will touch on why is it important to clean and disinfect and to practice good sanitation. So then we should discuss some of the importance of sanitation. Firstly, we can say that good sanitation controls the source of contaminants in the environment. So what we're saying to you is that if we have good field sanitation, then we can reduce the amount of contamination that takes place. Right? When we talk about contamination, we're talking about getting infected plant parts and equipment and debris residues from one field to another. Because often what happens is present diseases may spread. You might find that Uncle Laban is getting a problem with BSD disease, the black sigatoka disease. And before we know it, the entire St. Cuthbert mission is suffering from this problem of black sigatoka disease, because you find all the other farmers who are engaged in planting the suckers, planting and banana, they're facing a serious problem. And that could have very well have been because that disease might have spread from Uncle Laban's farm to all these other farms. But The argument here is good field sanitation would have gone a far way in reducing the possibility of other farms being contaminated by what is happening at Uncle Laban's farm. Alright? Secondly, good field sanitation also prevents and limits the proliferation and spread of pests and diseases. So with pests and diseases, they need certain conditions in order for them to multiply and become plenty. And if we practice good field sanitation, then often what we end up doing is breaking the cycles of these pests and diseases. And by doing so, we reduce the amount of them that will be present and the impact that we can get as a result of this pest and disease incidents. Additionally, plants, they require a non-competitive environment in order to perform optimally. Plants have certain basic needs. And these needs that we talk about, they have things like, they need like sunlight, they need nutrient, and they need adequate space in order to grow as well. Now, if you allow your fields to be infested with weeds, then what weeds often do is that these weeds compete with these plants for these essential elements for the plant that the plants need to perform optimally. So if we want your plants to grow well, you're planting, let's say, cassava, or you're planting banana, you want to get big bunches with plenty harm, as you call it. You want to get a lot from it. Then you need to ensure that you do all that you can so that this plant grows well. And what we're seeing here, in order for plants to grow and perform optimally, sanitation is very important. Right? Often what happens is that farm equipment and tools may play a role in spreading pests and diseases because contaminants from the tools and equipment we use can move from one place to another. For example, you might find that Auntie Kathleen decide that, you know what, she's going to prune her suckers. One of the things we do to control black sigatoka is that whenever we see those dry leaves, you need to cut it. But black sigatoka is a fungal disease, and it's a fungus that has spores. Spores are little tiny things, it's like dust, and they easily spread. So when you use that cutlass to clean that tree there, all right, it's very possible that these very spores that causes this disease will be on your cutlass. All right, and then you might take that same cutlass without washing it and sterilizing it properly to go and weed around some other plant that doesn't have that disease. And what you're actually doing there is spreading it. Right? And that's really saying that long ago you used to find that these people used to plant without any chemical and fertilizer. Right? I'm sure many of you would have one of my days used to do very well. Because they practice good field sanitation. And many of us have moved far away from this golden practice. So we hope at the end of today we will go back not only to this good practice, but we'll also enhance the way in which it should be done. Alright? So, good sanitation has positive impacts on agriculture and your production. It can help your crops to appear, to have better appearance. So your crops look more shiny and presentable to buyers. Because when you go out there to sell your produce, if it looks speckled and it has injuries and all these things, you will lose the price for it. Alright? The price you get for your goods will be less. So your overall, and also, it will help to prolong the shelf life, meaning your produce will last long, it will not spoil easily. One of the things that causes food spoilage, you have what we call food spoilage pathogens, right? Or you might call these bacteria and these, if you want to say these were not disease, we call them pathogen. They're the agents that causes this thing to happen. So we have these food spoiling agents which will play a role in helping your thing to spoil. And in addition to that, there is something called ethylene. That is the stuff that will cause fruits to ripen. And the more of that is produced, the rate of ripening will accelerate in your fruits, meaning it will ripen very fast. Whenever you're going to water your plant, let's use words that you can understand, right? In crop science, you say irrigate, but it simply means when you're going to water your plant, it's important to use clean water. That doesn't mean you can't use trench water or creek water, but it must be clean. Because when you're going to use that dirty water, then somebody said, well, I don't know, I guess this man plant long enough that he actually seeing the disease. But disease is a hard thing to see. You often see signs and symptoms of the disease. The disease affecting your plant. Right? But maybe the man love his plant so much. See if the plant see them dirty water, he doesn't see them about the disease. You can see things in your mind's eyes. So it's important to have quality water to water your plant. Contamination is when you're introducing the pest or the disease to a plant or an area. Alright, so your farm might not have plant or disease, but you go and bring this infected plant or disease from somewhere, or you bring these pathogens from somewhere, as in the case of using that pure quality water. Right, you're using that dirty water. You are likely to cause contamination because you're now making those pathogens come in contact with your plant. Now, it depends on where you are. Drainage might be important or it might not be important. You see, drainage becomes important if you're in a situation where there's excess water. Then you need that drainage to get rid of excess water so as to prevent situations like waterlogging and flooding. There are some areas in the world where there's shortage of water. You think they want drains? No. They want irrigation channels. Right? So that is why I didn't place too much emphasis on the drainage. But yes, in our situation, drainage is important because we all know there was that big flood. Right? So agriculture is not hard and fast. There are no hard and fast rules for certain things. We got to use our brain a little bit, look at our ideal situation, know whether it's applicable to us or not. But as far as possible, we will make this training customized so we look at our situation. So yes, in your situation, drainage is needed. If as soon as you see them, maybe you can pull them out, or if you use your brush cut, you don't need a brush cut if they turn plenty. But if you're visiting a farm every day, you do a little bit at a time, right? That might be a good practice. I know of some people back in the days when the farmers would be the weed, and because the seed weeds come up, right, they get rid of it. There are some cases when you may need to keep a few weeds, and there's cases where you're using the weeds as a natural enemy to other pests and diseases. Right? We look at that in other training, when we look at how to deal with problems that you have in controlling pests and diseases. Right? But basically, you don't want to keep weeds around, right? You as a farmer need to do everything possible to avoid contamination and the spread of pests and diseases. And you do that by keeping your farm clean, getting rid of weeds, and keeping yourself clean to when you go on the farm. Because you yourself might be spreading diseases. Right? You pull out a leaf from a plant that get disease, and without thinking, you go out and look after other plants, How are you doing? Right, now, there are animals like mosquitoes and rats and so on that spread disease, we call them vectors. Right, but we can't call you a vector, so we call you a foreman. Yes, there's a person that transmits the diseases from one place to another or a plant to another, right? So you give it like a vector. Right, so when someone calls you a foreman, it means you're spreading diseases from the farm or from one farm to another. So when we talk about
Yes, I would like to know how to keep away bees from the borer seed because they're eating the pad, the borer pads, some black bee. And I want to know how I can keep it away.
You ever notice which part of the plant the bees are mostly? And how many they come around?
I never traced them to where they come from. But they just try a lot for me. Plenty, they told actually on the board seed and pads. Just the seed then alone.
Yeah, that's why we call them pests. Pests tends to do that. They're nuisances to human and human activity. You even got some human pests. They're nuisance because you plant and they come and take everything like theirs. So in agriculture, we'd find that will happen. And then when it reaches that level where they're there, you have to look at how to control or get rid of them. In many cases, you're not able to get rid of them. Like the human pests, you can't get rid of them, but you can still control them. Right? You report to the police or something, and you get them out of the way. Right? But you can't kill them off. Same thing with other pests. Right? For various reasons, you might not be able to get rid of them, but you can control them. However, what you need to do, like you said, you never trace it. You must trace and see where they're coming from, and you must check to see where most of them dwelling. Look at that surrounding and see what is attracting them to that area. You see, for them to come, and that's why we place so much emphasis on this training, because pests and diseases, they would only come to an area. Let me use simple terms. And they would multiply. Right? We use that term proliferate. And become such a big problem because of certain conditions. So sometimes your farm does not, but somebody or something bring it from somewhere. So that's where the contamination comes. We look at different types of contamination. We go through what you call cross-contamination and all of that. And sometimes they're over somewhere else, but because of something on your farm that's attracting them, they come here. Good? So, again, I'm saying it is very, very important to get rid of these things. Right? So what is this good sanitation of the farm? It involves three things. So when we talk about farm sanitation, field sanitation, three main things you must do on the farm. So again, we want to practice good field sanitation, and we're saying that in a nutshell, in a summary, I'm saying to you, three main things you must do. First, you want to remove weeds. So the first activity in field sanitation is the removal of weeds. You don't want to keep weeds in your field, no. The more weeds you keep, more bees and all these other things will come around. Not only bees, you might get snake on. Right? So get rid of the weeds. You have to prevent a lot of these pests because it's a good habitat, we call it. Or in other words, it's a home for pests and disease. It's like you're giving them somewhere to live. And then you have your farm here, which means you're also providing food. As far as they're concerned, you're providing little clothes too. So you're mining these pests. Right? So our first activity in good field sanitation is the removal of weeds. We want to clean and disinfect all our tools and equipment. Clean and disinfect. all our tools and equipment. You want to remove and properly discard all infected plant parts. Remove and properly discard. So, when you cut out those dry leaves, you're removing them. It's called pruning. But then what do you do with it after that? It's important. You need to move it from your farm and burn it. Properly discard. Right? Some places, people make big pits and bury them, but we advocate burning them. Right? So those are the three things we do when we talk about good field sanitation.